Everyone ready back there?
Well, I'm going to start off saying a couple of things. First is that we've been informed that there is an investigation about an allegation in regards to one of our student athletes. And I want you to know it's something that we take very serious at this point. I won't repeat that. It's very serious. However, there is not nearly enough information at this point for us to determine what's going to be done here. And right now, we just have to give it a little more time to decide what's going to come of this. So beyond that, I'm not going to say much more about it. And there are a lot of things I'm not good at, but I am pretty good at not saying much more about it. If I say I'm not going to say much about it. And I know that I'd like to know some things I just can't. Second thing is Abdul Gaddy is going to have surgery to repair his ACL this Friday, which is good in that he can get his knee repaired, get back to where he's playing good basketball. Beyond that, ready to take any questions you have in regards to our basketball season.
Coach, in general, as a mentor to these kids, what do you tell them in terms of their behavior off the floor, and how often do you emphasize it? And just how do you generally discipline them and talk to them about being citizens?
Well, you know, in terms of behavior, this is something that different issues, we always address all kind of different things. As a team, sometimes things will happen elsewhere. You can use it as a teaching point with your own group. Individual sessions on the road, sessions in the airport where you're just talking. Myself and my staff, we don't have the type of relationship with our kids, me as a head coach, where we only meet when there's an appointment. We have ongoing talks. So there are a number of different topics and issues that are addressed in many different forms with them.
Is the school doing its own investigation at all, or are you just going to leave it up?
I could answer his question, but I'm just not going to answer it first. Again, it's made my statement.
Coach, the basketball season is off to a good start. How do you prevent something like this from becoming a distraction to the team?
It's a good question. With our group, there are things that you battle all the time that you know, this is unique, but that can be distractions to your team. And again, it's something that is ongoing, and hopefully you talk with your team, you have a relationship with your team enough. When something happens, you're prepared somewhat to deal with it. We haven't covered everything. You know, there's some situations that arise in sports and family situations that you just hadn't happened to you before. It's the first time, and you have to deal with that. There's some situations, you know, there's not necessarily a manual for it. But I think we have a together group. Whatever happens with our group, we usually deal with it together.
With your players, are you like a parent that you just, when they're gone, you kind of dread the phone call or the phone rings and you think, oh my God, is somebody got in trouble, got hurt, got sick, got whatever?
Well, you know how it is with your own kids. You know, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to go to a ball game, we're going to go to a birthday party, whatever they're going to do, and we'll be back by 10:05. You're wondering, maybe they got caught by red light. 10 after 10. Well, maybe, you know, I think it's like that at any time. And you know, with a team situation, guys are more closer to adults. And but I think with your kids, even our own kids are older, and you still someone that you're around a lot, you still want to make sure everything's okay. My wife's older than 20, that's for sure. And if she's gone too long, I'm concerned about that. Anyone close to you, you're always concerned with what's going on.
As of now, you expect everybody who was available to you last week to travel to Stanford, and is everyone practicing today?
Yes.
What is the school policy for various stages of investigations, arrests, charge, anything like that?
I'm not totally sure. We have a handbook. I haven't consulted it off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
Who would make those calls? Would it be someone above you?
That would probably be a question you might ask Scott Wood.
Is there any concern that something like this could derail what has been a fantastic start to the Pac-10 season, obviously, and then what this game is like to do?
We will see, you know. Adversity is always interesting how people handle it. Always interesting. So we will see.
Would you tell the guys after this injury?
I think we talked about just, it was unfortunate. You don't like to see that happen to one of your family members. You know how hard Abdul's worked. But we're here to support it and help it get through.
When did you first learn of this investigation's happening?
I'm thinking if I could just write no comment. You probably know the ones I'm going to say no comment on. Although a couple of them have some slow ones.
How about this one? When someone is charged or someone is under investigation, does it indict the whole team because he's unnamed? Is that a concern?
I mean, publicly, I mean, maybe it could. I don't know.
You know, in the 9 years that you've been here, you've obviously faced a lot. Is this, I mean, obviously you just sort of new into this, is this one of the most challenging deals that you have faced so far in your 9 years?
Well, I'm going to refrain from answering that. Just in case anybody just was wondering, we play on Thursday and Saturday. Sunday.
Isaiah named Pac-10 Player of the Week, Coach. Comment on that?
Yeah, we'll talk to you. It's interesting. Isaiah's had some really good games in his career, and he finally gets named Pac-10 Player of the Week. And when you look at what he did, he played about as complete a weekend of basketball as he has, and he's rewarded for it. I'm glad to see that he was able to get that award. He assisted, he scored, he ran the team, he rebounded, he defended. He did a lot of things to help us play better basketball over the weekend. So I'm ecstatic to see him get the award.
His point total are down, but his assists are so far up this year. Do you see him working for the team even more than he has in the past?
I've always said that Isaiah Thomas is a winner and will do whatever it takes to win. And where you say his point totals are down, just 1 point. I think he averaged close to 17 last year. He's close to 15 and a half or 16 this year. So his assists are up, but he's 1 point down. But I think he has more guys on his team that can put the ball in the basket as well. So instead of, let me say it this way, if he was really just a guy that just cared about scoring, he wouldn't care who was on his team. He was still going to try to score at any cost. But I think what he's done is allowed the other guys, he's played with the other guys and tried to make other players better. And I think that's a testament to Isaiah Thomas and how much he wants to win.
Coach, your depth at guard was the strength of this team, and look what everybody pointed to now. That's going to be tested. What have you said to your younger players in terms of how that'll all shake out and what will go on now?
But see, this is again what I've been saying. Abdul Gaddy goes down. And just go look up and down the rosters of the Pac-10 and the other conferences if you like. Just see how many point guards play on their team. Most have a starting point guard and a backup point guard. Most do. And then a third guy maybe that can fill in if need be. We've had the luxury of just having 3 point guards. So yeah, Abdul is down now, but now that just makes us have normal depth of their position. So there aren't a lot of adjustments that need to be made in terms of minutes and that sort of thing.
But now you're normal. You're not extraordinary at guard. You're not.
We don't have that extra luxury that we've had before. But again, it gives Terrence Ross plays more minutes against Oregon. Scott Suggs plays more minutes, and both of those guys came through. Isaiah plays more minutes. Benoit and Isaiah against Oregon State, against that 1-3-1, did a great job of penetrating and keeping them off balance and spoon feeding guys for easy baskets. They did a fine job. And you know, we miss Abdul's temperament and his calm throughout the game. But as I said, when he was injured, we just have to do it another way. And I think this past weekend, we did it a different way, but a nice way. Those guys were, last game, 15 assists, 4 or 5 turnovers, pretty good.
Back to the allegations quickly. You said just moments ago that you have, and the team is going to show support for the player that's going through this, your family. What's your response to the alleged?
I didn't say that, but that would be assumed. You asked about that.
We're here to support him and get him through it.
You asked about Abdul Gaddy? Did you ask me about Abdul Gaddy?
That was earlier.
Is that who you're talking about?
It was earlier concerning the allegations. You talked about that particular player who's being accused. I believe you said we were here to support him and get him through it. What's your response to what the alleged victim may be going through in this case?
I'm not going to comment.
What do you expect to see out of Stanford?
Stanford is tricky because on one hand, they have some young players that are good and are coming on. One being Aaron Bright from here, who's their starting point guard now. But then they also have some older players, Jeremy Green, Josh Owens, Trylan Zimmerman, who are upperclassmen who play well for their team. They have not lost at home. They are bigger than people think. They have more size than people think. So put it all together, I think we're going to look to play against a team that may be a little better than people think they are.
Stanford's also one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the conference right now. How do you rate your rebounding on both ends since you've made that adjustment with Aziz and NBA in there and kind of made an emphasis of that?
I think we've made a big improvement from non-conference to conference, and even before when we changed the lineup. Now in conference games, I know we're about plus 9.5 on the boards, whereas before we were only about plus 4 to 6, something like that. So on both ends, I think we've made a big improvement.
What is it about playing at Stanford for this year? Last year was first, I think second time since '93 on there. That's a pretty crazy game down there. Is there anything peculiar? Does the floor still shake?
The floor does not shake, thank goodness. For us, Maples Pavilion has been a little bit like a long time ago Boston Garden was for the Celtics against the Lakers, where they said the leprechaun was knocking balls off the rim and stuff like that. We've had some strange things happen to us down there at Stanford and have come up short many times. But we were very fortunate to get a win there last year when they were undefeated. When we went up there, and we had not won a road game yet. So we remember that. That was our first road win. So it's kind of a closed in. Everybody's right there on top of you there. It's like a little smaller gym. It gets really loud. there, but over the years, they've also had some pretty big teams too, so that contributed to it.
Was there anything last year that, was there any peculiar thing that got you to win last year down there?
I thought the road trip, the road trip before, I'm sorry, was, if I remember correctly, was in Los Angeles. And I thought it was the first game against UCLA when we lost at the buzzer that we really started to play better on the road. Prior to that, we hadn't played very well at all. And so I thought we had gotten a little better. So by the time we were able to get to the Bay Area, finally we were able to get us.
Speaking of gyms, I'm sure we'll ask you more about this in a few weeks, but what are the implications to your program of the opening of the Matthew Knight Arena, and what might that do for the Ducks? And just speaking of facilities, what's kind of at the top of your wish list here?
Well, you know, there's a buzz around there, around Matthew Knight Arena. It's, you can see they've had a lot of advertising around it. It's a beautiful place, that's for sure. So it definitely brings a positive outlook on their program. And you know, there's some improvements that are looking to be made here as well.